Good morning again, grade 12s. Welcome back, and we are still busy with inverse functions. So this is now inverse functions of exponential functions. So let's first look at the terminology of exponents and logarithms. Kom ons gaan kyk gou-gou na eksponente en logaritmes. Om die inverse funksie van 'n eksponensiële funksie te kan teken en te kan benoem, het ek hierdie basiese kennis nodig. Kom ons gaan kyk eers wat is logs. Dit klink amper soos die Loch Ness monster, maar dit is nie so nie. It's not a monster, it's quite easy. Just concentrate carefully. What is a log? A log is a way to solve unknown exponents. Dit is 'n manier om onbekende eksponente op te los. Kom ons gaan kyk na 'n voorbeeld. 'n baie maklike voorbeeld is wanneer ek sê 2 tot die mag a is gelyk aan 8. Wat is a? As jy kan terugdink, het ons in laer grade basisse dieselfde gaan maak. En ons het gesê 2 tot die mag a is gelyk aan 2 tot die mag 3. 2 to the power of a equals 2 to the power of 3. Hoekom? Want 2 tot die mag 3 en 8 is presies dieselfde ding. Therefore a equals 3. Kom ons gaan kyk nou hoe gebruik ons logs en ons dit is op ons sakrekenaar om dieselfde waarde te kry. Die reël sê take the unknown exponents, then you equal it to log 2 base 8. As jy hierdie in jou sakrekenaar gaan intik, log 2, 8, dan kry jy 3. Net soos wat jy dit sou doen in laer grade. So met ander woorde, jy moet onthou, ek vat my onbekende eksponent, log altyd my basisgetal en hy skuif af onder toe. Hy's nie op die grond nie, hy skuif af onder toe. It moves down lower and that 8 is on my base. Hy staan op sy voete. There. Level to A and log. The 2 is a bit underneath, very important. So kom ons gaan kyk na ons definisie. X is gelyk aan a tot die mag a. If I rewrite it in terms of y, then y equals the log of a little bit down and x on the same plane as log. So kom ons gaan doen dit andersom. As ek sê x is gelyk aan log a op dieselfde vlak, dan is y gelyk aan a tot die mag x. Y gelyk aan a tot die mag. Very important that you must know this by heart and you must be able to apply these definitions. Kom ons gaan doen 3 voorbeelde. The question here is determine the inverse functions of the following functions. Bepaal die inverse funksie. Wanneer ons die inverse funksie gaan kry, het juffrou vir ons gesê, terminology, very important. Write down inverse, double point, rewrite it in terms of y first. Then it's easy to swap the x and the y. So ons het, no, that's not true, that's not the inverse function, it's that function. To get the inverse function, now only I swap the x and the y. Like that. Dis hoe ons die inverse funksie kry. Daai een was nog nie die inverse nie, dit is presies dieselfde as daai een. So ons ruil die plus en die min, die x en die y om, en nou skryf ons dit in terme van y. Kyk mooi het ons daar gemaak. That is y equals the log of 5, a little bit downwards, and the x stays in level with the log. This is the inverse function of fx. Kom ons doen dieselfde hier. Ek wil die inverse funksie kry van y is gelyk aan 3 tot die mag min x. So let's get the inverse, and now it's not f, it's g. Concentrate. Inverse function. Now we're going to swap the x and the y. Okay. We're going to rewrite it in terms of y, and we're going to use our log formula, that one. So now it's minus y, because there's a minus in front. Minus a is gelyk aan, en ek het vir log, ek skuif my 3 'n bietjie af onder toe, en ek het vir x. But remember, no function is in terms of minus y, I need it in terms of y, so I can divide with minus 1 on both sides, and there's my inverse function of y equals 3 to the power of minus x. Ok, kom ons kyk nou nommer 3. Die inverse funksie van hx wil ek kry. Gaan skryf hom eers in terme van y. Goed, now I'm going to write down my inverse function. Look at this notation. Going to swap the x and the y. And now I'm going to write it in terms of y. So ons gaan sê a equals, and now I've got, okay, before I write it in terms of y, it's important that there mustn't be a minus applicable to the y. So before I'm going to do that, I'm going to divide with minus 1 on both sides to get the minus on the other side. I don't want it near the y. Okay. So now that becomes a plus if I divide with minus 1 on both sides. So now it's minus x equals 4 to the power of y. I can rewrite it in terms of y. Y equals the log of 4 and in brackets minus x. Let's just move Lucy a little bit. You are loose. Okay, so that will be my inverse function now of hx. And that's the way we write it. Let's do 3 more examples where we do it the other way around, where we've got functions in terms of logs. So the question stays the same. Now we're going to have a function fx, and now this function is a log function. Another one, a function, and it's also a log function, gx, log 3 minus x, and the last example, hx equals minus log 2x. Question again is, give the inverse functions of these functions. So we're going to first rewrite it as a y log 5x. Now we're going to get the inverse function. And double point, swap the x and the y. Now we're going to rewrite it, and there's our definition when we rewrite log functions into normal functions. So we've got y equals 5 to the power of x. That's the inverse function now of fx. Good. Let's go on with number 2. Same thing. Kom ons skryf hom weer in terme van y net. Anders raak ons die mekaar. Nou gaan ons inverse funksie doen. Kyk my notasie weer eens. Double punt, swapping the y and the x. X equals log 3 minus y. Let's use our definition over there to rewrite it in that form, normal form. So ek het vir minus y is gelyk aan 3 tot die mag x. Ek soek hom nie as minus y nie, maar ek soek hom as y, and that's minus 3 to the power of x, the inverse function of gx. Laaste enetjie, hx, dan skryf hom weer as y is gelyk aan minus log 2x. I'm going to get an inverse function Okay, I'm swapping my x and my y. And now I'm going to write, before I rewrite it in terms of from a log to a normal function, I'm going to make sure that the minus is not near my y. So I'm going to divide first with minus 1 on both sides. So now I can write it in terms of y equals 2 to the power of minus x. En ons weet ook graad 12 dat dit ook gelyk is dan aan 'n half tot die mag x. Nie waar nie. So ons het nou ons logfunksies. Remember, you can get it as an exponential function or you can get it as a log function. En jy moet in beide gevalle die funksies kan verander in hulle inverse funksies. Kom ons gaan oefen hoe om die funksies oor te skryf in hulle inverse funksies. Let's go and exercise that. See you tomorrow.